In this week's drive, we ride along with an old star in a new car, get twisted but never bitter in Bologna, hear Rossi stretching his new bike,
finds you and stomps you,
and see it all go horribly wrong.
So that would have been
All this and more in this week's Drive. On a quiet winter's day, the Mercedes-Benz Works DTM team hosted 4 ex-Formula One drivers. All 4 are now commentating and analysing Formula One for various TV stations and magazines in their home countries. Ivan Capelli drove for AGS, Tyrrell, March, Leighton House, Ferrari and Jordan, his best finishes being second in France and Portugal. 60-year-old Jacques-Henri Lafitte took 6 wins and 7 pole positions in a long career with Williams and Ligier. 10 years younger, Irishman Daly drove for Hesketh, Williams, Tyrrell and March, and his best finishes were 4th in Argentina and Britain in 1980. 52-year-old Swiss Schurer drove for ATS, Arrows and Brabham. His best finishes were 4th in Rio and at Monza. The 4 oldies were briefed by current Mercedes drivers, including Formula One McLaren test drivers Alexander Wurz and Pedro Dalla Rosa, and DTM stars Bernd Schneider, Jean Alesi and Christian Albers. Although they would be driving the all-enclosed DTM cars instead of the open-wheeled single-seaters they raced in Formula One, it's fair to say that the modern cars are probably much more technically developed than the cars that they raced in their heydays. Mark Schurer hosts TV shows in Germany and Switzerland and didn't miss a chance to give viewers a look at his car. Alesi and Schneider's championship cars will be used, but racing each other wasn't encouraged. After a final briefing and tech check, it was out onto the track. Hockenheim has been extensively remodeled since any of the senior citizens last raced there. Although modern Formula One cars use electronic gear shift paddles on the steering wheels, the cars of a decade or 2 ago had regular gear levers, just like the sequential shifters on the DTM cars, which have 6-speed gearboxes, no traction control and no ABS braking systems. The Racing CLK is powered by a 4-litre V8 and weighs 1,080 kilograms, including the driver. Daly now covers motorsports throughout the world for ESPN, CBS and Speedvision. Despite his age, Jacques Lafitte recently joined the Works Morgan endurance racing team. Capelli was Italian Formula 3 champion in 1983 and World Formula 3000 champion in '86. Just like in most test sessions, there always seems to be some standing around while other people tend to the car.
Out of the hairpin, 4th, 5th. 5th, you leave
flat,
the 5th, yeah, which also flat, yeah. And then you go back.
Easy or?
Yeah, easy.
Spaniard and Frenchman, but there's a common racing language that involves a lot of hand-waving. Then it was the turn of the new generation Formula One drivers to get behind the wheel. Pedro Dalla Rosa and Alexander Wurz getting into cars much bigger and almost twice the weight of their regular McLarens. DTM cars are silhouette cars. They look like regular road cars but are built around a super strong space frame with fully aerodynamic carbon fiber body panels covering state-of-the-art multi-adjustable suspensions, carbon fiber brakes and hand-built powertrains. The space frame includes a reinforced safety cell around the driver with impact-absorbing crumple zones front and rear, much like a road-going Mercedes, just more so. The 2 young guns were much more prepared to stretch the cars as they gained familiarity, and pretty soon they were turning in lap times, which would have made them competitive in the last DTM round held at Hockenheim.
The car gives you a lot of feedback. It's very easy and clear to understand and see what it does. But it's a fascinating exercise to be in what we call a tin top with this type of sophistication?
I mean, it's like a Formula car, basically, with a shell, with a different aerodynamic. Very similar to the old Formula One style car. So that means that you have to place the car in the right position, in the right line in the corner, because otherwise you cannot get the limit of the car, you cannot go quick. And you must really push very hard. And it's astonishing how much is quick that car.
I think this car is more, is one of the car was closer to the Formula One compared to the other car I drove in prototype or everything, because you have a really good handling. The car is not rolling a lot, not pitching also front and rear.
Cheers!
As Alex and Pedro lined up with the racing heroes of their boyhoods, there was a wealth of experience standing on the Hockenheim pit lane with them. Italy is probably the home of the most ardent motoring enthusiasts in the world, so crowds were guaranteed at the midwinter Bologna Motor Show. Predictably, the Ferrari stand was the first stop for most fans. Developed for the FIA GT Championships, the 575 GTC has a 6-litre V12 giving 600 brake horsepower and a theoretical top speed of 335 kilometres an hour. Ferrari's arch-rival Porsche have a similar model, although the Carrera GT was made mostly for road use. It's a typical Porsche from the front and the back, but the engine cover looks like it was borrowed from its Italian rival. The chassis is made of carbon fiber reinforced plastic, and the floor pan is a single piece. The Carrera GT has a 5.7-litre V10 giving 612 horsepower and reaching 330 kilometres an hour. It's cheaper than the Ferrari too, just €400,000. Audi have a habit of making their concept cars into production cars, and that's true of the Nuvolari, an aluminium-bodied 2+2 all-wheel drive coupe fitted with the most powerful engine in a road-going Audi. The 5-litre V10 Biturbo also develops 600 horsepower, but the car's top speed is electronically governed to 250 kilometres an hour. The car is named for Italian racing legend of the 1930s, Tazio Nuvolari. BMW are unusual in that they build not only high-performance cars, but a wide cross-section of big motorcycles too. Similar philosophies see a couple of basic engine designs doubling up in several models to create a wide range of vehicles. It's been said that on board the Megatourer K1200 LT, you're not so much the rider of a motorcycle as the caretaker of a block of flats, complete with its own satellite navigation system, reverse gear, powered stand, heated handlebars, and even heated seats. Interestingly, BMW showed new bikes in winter.
We are showing here in Bologna 4 new products and 2 worldwide motorcycle innovations. One product, probably the most important, is a new K1200 LT, totally new, redone engine, refined, a big model update. And then we have 3 more bikes, the new F-Series with a totally new refined engine and also redone designs.
The smallest BMWs are the single-cylinder 650s, which come in pseudo off-road guise, the Dakar, and a more friendly road version. Both get a second spark plug and a revised engine management software for better emissions, response and economy. The reach of the clutch has been modified, a critical point for many female riders. A new headlamp, new instrument faces and revised luggage options update the range, and features like revised screens and accessory power sockets make the bikes more user-friendly.
Now we are very happy to be here in Bologna because Bologna in Italy is a very important market for BMW Motorrad. Actually, it's our 3rd most important market after the United States, Germany, and then Italy. And we once again will do about 12,000 bikes this year here in Italy.
Italy's biggest car maker, Fiat, have had a lot of attention with the Panda, which beat the BMW 5 Series, Volkswagen Golf and Mazda 3 in the 2004 European Car of the Year Awards. Not surprisingly, Fiat are trying to get as much as possible out of the Panda, and like Audi's Allroad or Rover's Streetwise, the Panda 4x4 isn't a rugged off-roader, but sees a suspension lift and some protective trim to make it a useful European green laner.
It's quite important to launch the Fiat Panda four-wheel drive version at the Bologna Motor Show, because Bologna Motor Show is a feast for young people, and so it is natural in a way for Fiat to introduce as a world premiere a four-wheel drive Panda version here in Bologna.
Daimler Chrysler had a few of their American cars on show too. The Pacifica is a 6-passenger vehicle, not a wagon, nor a minivan, not a crossover, nor an SUV. Options are huge with all-wheel drive, rear seat DVD with remote control and cordless headsets, 6-disc CD changer, and so on. Even the Crossfire Coupe has crossed the pond. The 300-seat touring wagon will be available outside America only this year, letting Chrysler compete in the European E-segment, where around 40% of sales are wagons.
Well, the Bologna Motor Show is for us a very important fair because it's nice and between the Francoforte show and the Detroit and Geneva show. And in addition of that, the Italian market is really important for us because it's a second export market for Daimler Chrysler worldwide. And so we are here and we are happy to be here.
Following on the cute little 206cc, Peugeot have given their 307 the folding roof cabrio treatment. But it's big, heavy, expensive and has a cramped rear seat. The weight compromises the 2-litre 4-cylinder engine, although a top speed of 205 km/h is claimed. The company gave a glimpse of where Peugeot design is heading with the 407 LXR 3-door sports coupe concept, built on the same platform as the production 407 model. The engineers used a 2.7-litre diesel 6 with 200 horsepower from the parts bin, probably a good choice when the model becomes a reality. The interior looks ready for production, down to earth with brushed metal accents, and the final car probably won't differ greatly from this. Spanish carmaker SEAT owes a great deal of its model DNA to German parent Volkswagen. Bologna saw the fastest Ibiza yet, the Formula Racing or FR model. The car has a 1.8-litre 20-valve turbocharged engine that delivers 150 horsepower and squirts the hot hatch to a claimed 216 km/h. Just as dear to the hearts of Italian fans as Ferrari are the motorcycles built by Ducati. At Bologna, Ducati presented the Monster 620 Capirex, a special version of the Monster dedicated to Loris Capirossi, the renowned Italian racer who just wrapped up an outstanding first year in MotoGP with Ducati.
Well, this season's highlights have been the fact that we, for the first time, we participated to the MotoGP Championship, and notwithstanding the fact that we are new in this kind of races, we finished second after Honda. So given the dimension of the company, it was a big achievement for us. And we also won the Superbike Championship, and as usual, we are going to use this racing effort to sell our production bikes.
Neil Hodgson won the World Superbike title and has moved to MotoGP for this year.
We are revamping the business in the USA through the participation in AMA Championship races. For the first time, we participate with an official team, and we are going to have new interesting things for our customers as well, but we cannot tell you.
Over at Honda's stand, they showed the new 1-litre Fireblade, developed by the same team that was behind Valentino Rossi's unstoppable GP-winning RC211V. The big lump on the steering is an electronic steering damper, useful since the bike delivers an awesome 180 horsepower. The big naked 1300 Hornet has a bigger engine than most cars that Honda builds. Honda have dominated MotoGP for years, and they weren't about to let the departure of their superstar rider Rossi to Yamaha get in the way of a serious boast session. After all, first, second and third with 3 different teams isn't bad. Volvo chose Bologna to unveil the V50 wagon, their largest, latest and safest model. To help reduce the risk of injury to pedestrians or cyclists, it has an energy-absorbing structure in the front bumper, smooth surfaces and rounded corners. Inside, the ignition key has been moved from the steering column to the dashboard for better knee protection.
We are proud to present the new Volvo V50, and it's a true Volvo with all the Volvo safety features, the Volvo functionality, the Volvo practicalities. It's a true Volvo estate car.
The big Italian saloon is making a triumphant return in the shape of the Maserati Quattroporte, or 4-door. Pininfarina's masterful styling is powered by a 400 horsepower V8 to a top speed of 275 km/h, And there's 15 bodywork colours, 3 types of wood, 10 shades of leather and a wide range of other options.
At the Bologna Motor Show, we are here for presenting the Maserati Quattroporte, recently presented officially during the Frankfurt Motor Show, but this is a fantastic occasion for introducing this car here in Bologna, at the Bologna Motor Show, for our important domestic market. Maserati Quattroporte is a key product, is a milestone in our relaunch of the Maserati. It's a combination of sportiveness from one side, performance if you want, and elegance and comfort and pleasure to drive from the other one.
Not all the action was inside the warm display halls. Show organisers also laid on a few practical demonstrations and events outside in the chilly and wet winter weather. One of them was this obstacle course, and showgoers were encouraged to put some medium and large four-wheel drive vehicles through their paces over the chassis twisting, suspension winding, steering binding lumps and bumps. One badge we don't hear much of is Mahindra. Set up in 1945 to make general-purpose utility vehicles for the Indian market, Mahindra soon branched out into tractors and light commercial vehicles. Now they build vans, cars and tough jeeps, which are exported across Asia and into Africa. The 28th Bologna Motor Show attracted over 1.2 million visitors, up 6.5% on last year. Interestingly, female visitors rose from 13% of the total last year to 18% this year. That's 1 woman to every 6 men.
Okay, thank you.
It's been just 2 months since the end of the 2003 season, but the motorsport press has been itching to see what MotoGP champion Valentino Rossi would make of his new Yamaha, having moved from Honda after 3 world titles, taking much of his technical support team with him.
Okay.
Yamaha hope that the rich vein of form will continue with them and end their horribly barren spell in the World Championship. Wayne Rainey was the last Yamaha rider to win the Premier class back in 1992. Seeking a new challenge, Rossi deserted the all-conquering Honda factory team to ride the apparently outclassed Yamaha contender, but his contract barred him from even sitting on the bike, let alone testing, until the beginning of this year. Valentino completed a 3-day session with the Yamaha at Sepang in Malaysia. In his first outing on his new machine, Rossi lapped within 0.2 of a second of the quickest Honda testing the prior week, ridden by Max Biaggi. Posting a 2-minute, 2.75 second lap, Rossi was quicker than the majority of the top Honda factory riders. During the test, Rossi was also substantially faster than the 3 other Yamaha riders in attendance: Carlos Checa, Marco Melandri and Norick Abe. If the times posted by those 3 riders were viewed alone, you would think that Yamaha is a step or 2 behind the Honda effort. Rossi, however, gave every indication that he will be competitive with the Hondas from the first race of 2004. During a break, he was asked about his initial impressions.
Yes, you know, you have some ideas about the other bikes when you run into the circuit. But sincerely, I expect more big problem on the bike. But more or less, the bike is one bike, and yes, have some difference from Honda. But basically, the bike is not so bad.
With 5 World Championship titles in the 125, 250, 500 and MotoGP classes, he seems to have dominated the sport for years, yet Rossi is still only 24.
I'm very exciting. I was very exciting before try the bike, because it's like restart from zero another time, no? Change bike, change the team, and change all is very exciting. And but at the end we have good impression from today.
There's a renewed motivation for Valentino to make his place in history as one of the best, if not the greatest, rider of all time. Or perhaps not so hot. Just because it's below freezing and midwinter, it doesn't mean that car enthusiasts have to give up their hobby. Members of a car tuning club have invested dozens of hours in carving a life-size sculpture of a car and putting it on display in Vilnius, the capital of Lithuania.
With the help of ICE, we wanted to show the public what car tuning can be like.
Just as the new Mazda 3 hits car dealer showrooms around the world, this ICE version made its unusual premiere. The group of enthusiasts decided to promote the art of car tuning by carving a real-size Mazda 3 with their own design improvements to make it into a proper racing version. The organisers said the sculpture is a tuned version of the car with racing wheels, spoilers and extra air intakes. Internal lights behind the Ice Cube windows lit up the display, which was expected to last for several weeks in the sub-zero temperatures. The sculpture weighs about 4 tons, more than 3 times the weight of the real thing. Of course, people still do have to get around, even when the snow's lying thick on the ground and even the door locks have iced up. What do drivers dislike the most about winter driving?
The ice, sliding around, cars driving too close.
Just the driving in general. I hate driving in the snow.
Parts of Europe and North America were covered in unusually heavy snowfalls recently, and snowplows tried to keep roads clear. Salt and grit were spread across major routes, and drivers fitted studded snow tyres or chains. Other precautions are needed too. Low-temperature anti-freeze coolant will resist freezing solid, and anti-ice mixtures in the screen washer system will keep it working and help clear the screen too.
As soon as it snows, I go out and check, make sure my windshield wiper fluid is full and my windows are clear.
As soon as the temperature starts to drop, most service stations and parts dealers, and even regular grocers, will sell hundreds of bottles of special formula to stop engines freezing solid when major components will crack, and de-icer to clear windows and keep them clear, preventing refreezing. When planning even short trips in freezing conditions, fuel tanks should be kept full, and a blanket, water and emergency food carried for every person in the vehicle. Avoiding going out in such conditions in the first place would probably be a better idea. And finally, still on the snow and ice, American motocross rider Brian Deegan was attempting a Mullisher twist, a variation on the 360, at the Extreme Games when he crashed heavily on his first run in qualifying. He was trying to clear a 27-metre gap when he realised that he wouldn't rotate fully and dropped off the bike, falling 14 metres onto the ice. The 28-year-old rider has won more X Games medals than any other.
Well, all motocross riders, professional, both Brian
Deegan broke a thigh and both wrists and underwent 4 hours of surgery, but is expected to recover. So whether you're riding with a golden oldie, raising the roof, or just chilling out, so you stay on track and up to speed, make sure you catch next week's Drive.